We're gonna talk about biological theories. Imagine yourself as a special house and the biological theories are the inspectors, looking at your foundation and internal wiring. They say that who you are, your natural energy, your shyness, or your quick temper, comes mainly from your physical and inherited makeup. Your genes or DNA. This is the original blueprint that sets the potential limits and basic threats for your house. Your brain and hormones. This is the internal engine and wiring that determines your daily mood, energy level, and reactions. Simply put these theories. Believe your biology is the main boss of your behavior. And next, functionalism. Imagine society is a giant, well-oiled house where every part, from the roof to the plumbing, has a job. Functionalism is the theory that looks at the house and says every part has a purpose. Every social things like schools, families, and governments is like a room of a pipe. It performs a specific functions to help the house run smoothly. The goal is stability. All these parts are work together to keep the entire house stable and in balance. In simple terms, it's all about teamwork. If one part of the society breaks down, it affects the whole system. The job of everything in society is to contribute to instability and harmony.
So let's go ahead and the social rules. So when we say social rules, it is like a script or patterns of how people will behave in the society based on their position. So just like the students, how should students should behave? So the students should behave in a way of attending classes regularly, respect his or her teachers, and so on. And next is what student allowed to do or their right. So the student has the right to feel safe at school. Student has also right to receive an education and to learn more. And also is what is their responsibility as a student. So we know as a student our responsibility is to learn, to pass all the projects, the assignments, and also attending the schools. And importantly is to follow the rules and respect everyone. Also our teachers, our classmates, and many more. And also in social rules has a rule of, rule of conflict. So because there are some people or person has a multiple rules. For example, is you are a student and also you're an employee. So in that situation or in that tension, it shows rule of conflict because you can bring your study in working. Because also as an employee, you have a responsibility to work. So that's why you can combine two roles in a one situation. So it creates conflict. So that's why it has a rule of conflict. So let's go and move to relate to functionalism. So when we say functionalism, it focuses on how each part of society help it run smoothly. So in short, they ensure that all necessary tasks are being performed because when everyone does their job, the society works well and stay stable. So that's why we need to balance so that we can create a good um impression to our society, and that's it.
Good day everyone. Today I'm going to explain two important ideas, which is the social learning theory and intersectionality and stability. So these ideas help us understand why people behave the way they do and why some groups experience more challenges than others. So before we start everything, um, let's know first the social learning theory. So this was created by Albert Mandura, and this thing or the main idea of this is very simple. We learn by watching other people. So this word means that our behavior is not only shaped by rewards or punishment, but instead We learn by observing how others act, how they talk, how they solve problems, and how they treat different kinds of people. We pay attention to these behaviors and also we remember them and sometimes we copy them. This is called observational learning or modeling. And another important part of this theory is something called reciprocal determinism. This explains that three things influence each other all the time. First, our behavior, what we do. Second, our thoughts or beliefs, what we think or feel inside. And lastly, our environment, the people, places, and experience around us. So these three constantly affect one another. So for example, the way we behave can change the environment we live in. The environment can shape what we think, and our thoughts can influence how we act. Everything is connected. So for example, imagine a child with disability. If this child constantly sees adults or classmates treating people with disabilities as less capable, the child may start to believe that they also cannot do certain things. Even if no one directly tells them this, they learn it by simply observing how others behave. Their environment teaches them what to think about themselves. So, social learning theory help us understand how people from attitudes, both positive and negative, based on what we see around them. So now let's go to the intersectionality in disability. So the intersectionality is a framework introduced by Kimberly Crenshaw. It helps us understand that people have multiple identities such as gender, race, social class, and disability, and these identities overlap. Because of this overlap, people experience the world in different ways. So, intersectionality shows us that disability is not experienced the same way by everyone. A person's experience of discrimination is not just disability plus gender plus race. Instead, these identities mix together and create a unique type of struggle. So let's go to an example. So for example, a black woman with a physical disability may experience discrimination differently from a white man with the same disability. She may face racism when accessing in healthcare, ableism when applying for jobs, and sexism in everyday life. So this form of discrimination combine and create a completely different experience, one that cannot be understood by looking at only disability alone. So why intersectionality matters Mandy? So social learning theory focuses only or mainly on the individual, on how they think, learn, and behave. It explains how attitudes and beliefs are formed through observation. But when we go through intersectionality, it looks at the bigger picture. It reminds us that people don't exist alone and they are affected by systems like sexism, racism, ableism, poverty, and inequality. So these systems shape opportunities, treatment, and access to resources. So by using intersectionality, we understand that discrimination is not just about personal beliefs, but it is also about social structures and institutions that make certain group more vulnerable. So, after we learn all of that, let me summarize all sa akong gingon. So, to summarize, the social learning theory help us understand how people pick up behaviors and attitudes from the world around them, while intersectionality helps us understand how different identities like gender, race, class, and disability combine to create unique experiences, especially for people who face multiple types of discrimination. So these ideas give us deeper understanding of how individuals learn, grow, and struggle with society.